The Stalker in the Walls. Chapter 1. The scratching begins. The Mitchell family moved into the old colonial-style house on Willow Lane in early spring, excited for a fresh start. The neighborhood was peaceful, the trees tall and whispering, and the house, though a bit weathered, had character. It wasn't long before the nights brought strange sounds. It began subtly, just a faint scratching in the walls near the stairs. It seemed to come and go, usually late at night. They chalked it up to old plumbing, or maybe mice. The kids made jokes about wall goblins, but their parents reassured them it was nothing serious. A week passed, then 2. The scratching returned, louder and more frequent. It moved. Sometimes from the living room, sometimes upstairs by the bedrooms. It wasn't just scratching anymore. It sounded like shuffling, like something crawling. They called pest control. The expert found no droppings, no holes, no nests. "Place is clean," he said. "Maybe just the house settling." Still, the noises persisted. The dog barked at the walls at night. The baby woke up crying at exactly 3:17 a.m. every night for a week. Then, one night, while lying in bed, Mrs. Mitchell heard it clearly. 3 slow knocks behind her headboard, from inside the wall. Whatever was in there, it wasn't a rat, and it was listening. Chapter 2. Shadows and Whispers. Strange things began to happen. It started small. Keys went missing, only to be found in odd places like the freezer or beneath couch cushions no one remembered sitting on. Toys that children swore were left in their rooms turned up on the stairs. The thermostat would drop at night, leaving icy drafts curling through the hallway, even though all the windows were shut tight. Mitchell blamed exhaustion. "We're just tired. The move, the kids adjusting, the late nights. Our minds play tricks." But the incidents grew stranger. Lights flickered for no reason. Floorboards creaked as if someone were pacing, yet no one was awake. One night, Emily, their 5-year-old daughter, came running into her parents' bedroom. Her eyes were wide with fear. "There's someone breathing in my wall," she whispered. They checked her room. Nothing. No animals. No wind. Just stillness. They hugged her and stayed until she fell asleep. Still, her words lingered. The next day, Mrs. Mitchell walked into the kitchen and found every cabinet and drawer open. No one admitted to doing it. That evening, while putting away laundry, she caught it. A flicker of motion behind the slats of a vent in the hallway. She froze. It was quick, just a glimpse, the glint of an eye, the smallest shift of a shadow, then gone. She yanked the vent cover off. Nothing, just dust and darkness. But she knew what she saw. And from that moment, the fear stopped being abstract. They weren't alone in the house. Someone, or something, was watching them. Chapter 3. The Hidden Passages. The discovery came by accident. One night, while searching for the source of a strange humming sound in the laundry room, Mr. Mitchell knocked over a detergent bottle. As he bent down to retrieve it, he noticed something odd about the paneling along the back wall. One wooden slat was slightly warped, its edges lifting away from the surrounding boards. Curious, he pressed against it, and it gave way with a soft click. A draft of stale, cold air rushed out. He pulled the panel free, revealing a dark opening, barely large enough for a grown man to crawl through. Grabbing a flashlight, he called for his wife, and together they stared into the black void beyond. "It's just an old utility tunnel," she said, trying to sound calm, but they both knew better. The air inside was thick with dust and rot, heavy like it hadn't moved in years. Mr. Mitchell climbed inside. The tunnel stretched farther than expected. Wooden boards lined the narrow corridor, some rotting, others freshly disturbed. They creaked under his weight. Nails jutted out like claws. Cobwebs hung from above. He had to crouch low, crab walking forward through the oppressive silence. Every few feet he found offshoots, more passages leading to different parts of the house. Vents above their bedrooms, hidden panels behind closets, narrow peepholes carved into the walls, some angled toward mirrors, others toward the children's beds. He realized with growing horror that the entire house had been hollowed out from within. When he returned, his face was pale, his clothes covered in dust. He said nothing at first, just held up what he'd found. A small, dirt-covered blanket, a crushed soda can, and a flashlight, still faintly glowing. Someone had been living in the walls, and they were still there, or had just left. The family didn't sleep that night. Every creak became a signal, every silence a threat. Chapter 4: The Notes. The deeper they explored the hidden tunnels, the more they uncovered. Dust-covered boxes, empty food wrappers, old clothing. But what froze them in place were the notebooks. Dozens of them, stacked neatly on a makeshift shelf wedged between two beams. Each book was dated, labeled with names: Emily, Liam, Mom, Dad. Mitchell picked one at random and opened it. The handwriting was small, precise, almost childlike in its obsession. Inside were notes so detailed it felt like reading a diary written by someone who lived inside their minds. 7:42 a.m. Mom makes coffee. She uses 2 sugars. Doesn't check back door lock. 8:10 p.m. Emily reads the same book again. She likes the pictures with the dog. 10:23 p.m. Parents argue in bedroom. Dad sleeps facing the door. The family flipped through page after page, each one confirming their worst fears. The stalker hadn't just been hiding, he had studied them, memorized them. Arguments they'd thought were private were transcribed in eerie detail. Emily's nightmares, Liam's bedwetting, the late-night calls Mrs. Mitchell thought she made in secret, all recorded. Taped to the wall were Polaroids, blurry, grainy shots of their faces, some through windows, others clearly taken from inside the house. One showed Emily asleep in bed, another, the parents eating dinner. In every photo, the angle was slightly different, suggesting the stalker had moved freely between walls, taking pictures from hidden slits they had yet to find. At the back of the crawl space, behind a cracked board, they found what looked like a journal. Unlike the others, it wasn't about them. It was about him. The entries were cryptic, ramblings about being ignored, invisible, forgotten. They don't know I live here. I was here before them. I'll be here after. One line was written over and over. I am the house. I am the house. The Mitchells left the crawl space in silence. Whatever had been watching them wasn't just invading their privacy. It had woven itself into their lives. It knew them. And it had been waiting. Chapter 5. The Escape and Aftermath. The decision to flee wasn't made lightly, but the final straw came when they found a freshly written note on the kitchen counter that no one in the family had written. It read, "You found me, now I'll find you." They left that night, packing what they could, in silence, afraid to speak too loudly, as if doing so might wake something in the walls. They drove until dawn, not stopping until they reached a friend's house in the next town. There, with trembling hands, they called the police. Investigators scoured the property. What they found matched the family's claims. Evidence of long-term habitation in the crawl spaces, food wrappers dated months back, piles of clothing, and notebooks filled with surveillance notes. The hidden tunnels were real, intricate, and freshly used. But the stalker himself had vanished. There was no sign of forced entry, no fingerprints, no name, just the void he left behind. News spread quickly. Reporters swarmed the street. Neighbors stared. Some offered support. Others looked at the Mitchells like they were unstable. The house was sealed, declared a crime scene, but nothing criminal could be proven beyond trespassing. With no suspect, the case faded into cold files. The Mitchells relocated to a different state, trying to start fresh. They bought a smaller, newer house, one with no crawl spaces, no vents large enough for a person to fit through. But peace was elusive. At night, they heard things, not the old scratching, but the phantom kind, echoes of their fear. The creak of floorboards, the wind tapping against windows, the groan of pipes. All normal sounds, all sinister now. Emily refused to sleep alone. Mr. Mitchell kept a bat by the bed. Mrs. Mitchell checked every lock 3 times each night. Liam, now old enough to understand, asked questions they couldn't answer. Why us? Where did he go? Will he come back? They never truly felt safe again. Because even in a new house, far away, some part of the old one followed them. Not the walls, not the man, but the knowing, the terrible awareness that someone can live inches away from you, watch you, learn you, and wait, and you might never even know they're there.